There was a myth the ancient scrolls of Herodotus once swore to exist. Deep within the jungle mists, shrouded from the likes of men, the gods did descend, women of a warrior class, unlike any other that was cast to earth. The first to be immersed as demigods, but simply called by common tongue, the Amazons.
Hello authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short nonfiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode.
Hello, authors. I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is a loner sode with me, chatting about hybrid writing craft, blending genres, forms, and creative opportunities. Today's episode will discover how blending genres, forms, and writing disciplines can expand your creative potential and open up new opportunities in your hybrid author career. Whether you're writing novels, poetry, non-fiction, articles, or even scripts, hybrid writing is about more than just crossing genres. It's about exploring your creative range, reaching new audiences, and standing out in a crowded publishing world. So in my author adventure this week, out of almost 700 entries, I'm proud to say my contemporary women's fiction book, The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse, written under my pseudonym Zara Ellen, won an honorary mention in the 2024 Writer's Digest Self-Published eBook Awards. So I entered last year and I found this out in January this year, so it's been a long time coming for me to be even able to mention it. I got given graphics and things like that. But, you know, I thought that they were going to be announcing it in their May and June issue of their online magazine. And so I've kind of been waiting because I wanted to put the graphic on my book and all that sort of stuff. And then when I got in touch with them, they were like, oh, yeah, that was announced in April. You can share the graphic, no problem. So I'm a bit late to the party, but I'm absolutely honoured to receive that, especially out of 700 entries. You know, that's quite a lot for a work to stand on its own, for sure. And it just gives you validation and confidence when you receive positive feedback. I've only had that in regards to this work. It's been very humbling and very rewarding. Bit of an achievement there. And the good thing about these Writer's Digest competitions, because I've entered before with my author fears and how to overcome them book, and I think that was a self-published awards, and they give you feedback as well, so it's great. The reviews that I got from the judges in terms of The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse were things like structure, organization, pacing, the book exemplary in structure, organization and pacing, the structure of the chapters, parts aid in a compelling organization of the story of information. The pacing is even throughout and matches the tone genre of the book. One reviewer had said the story races along as the characters get into more adventures. The timeline rolls along well. Spelling, punctuation and things. It said, you know, there were some inconsistencies and further proofreading could be done of the book. And I have to say, yeah, since print, there was one or two sort of typos picked up, but that's been cleared up in my ebook editions, and once I do a fresh print run, they will be no more. So human error, it is what it is. Production quality and cover design for the book. It says the book is exemplary in production quality and cover design. The digital files, so this was for the ebook, this award. The digital file allows for easy and accurate toggling between chapters and hyperlinks. The cover appears to be professionally designed. Of course it is, by our very own Peter Ryan, and is completely related to the genre and the content of the book. It says the cover is whimsical and the title is intriguing. The story, the plot, topic appeal. The book is exemplary in its choice of topic or theme of story. It is unique but still has a strong appeal for most readers in its intended genre. This was another review. The plot follows three women in different family situations who grow closer and give each other the strength to survive threats to their marriages and troubles with their professions. A great ending. Character appeal and development. This book is satisfactory in character appeal and development. Most main characters are developed and have appealing or interesting aspects but could use more complex motivations. So secondary characters may have a purpose but have few unique characteristics. There's different things. Voice and writing style. Book is exemplary in voice and writing style. It has a unique voice and the writing style is consistent. The style and tone are also consistent and appeals to the reader in the genre. And then it talks about the author uses imagery to set the stage, such as in chapter 17, light clawing through the blinds. Also, Kimmy Lynn's eyes cha-cha in chapter 25. A wild storm brews in the skies above. I would have to go back and read all this. So, yeah. And one reviewer had written, I loved how a character shared her insides are curdling like off milk and coffee, and summer sunsets disintegrate into stars. So it was nice that they pointed out some language and things that I had written that they liked, which was nice. So, yeah, really, really happy with that overall. So how hybrid are you this week, as the topic of conversation is hybrid enough. And so we'll have a word from sponsor, then on with the episode. This week's episode is sponsored by my imprint, Sanguine Press. Feel-good, fast-paced, emotionally charged women's contemporary fiction. The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse intertwines the struggles and dynamics of three women's working family and romantic relationships, leaning on their long-time friendship to help get them through. And my short non-fiction for authors, author fears and how to overcome them. How many times have you said your writing's crap or shied away from calling yourself an author? Take comfort in knowing your author fears are valid. Other writers feel the same way you do, but are not letting fear stop them from putting themselves out there. We are all feeling the fear, but doing what we love anyway. And you can too. And freelance writing, quick tips for fast success. Starting a freelance writing business? Place yourself in the pro position before you've met with your first client. Invest 1 hour gaining 60 plus quick tips to save yourself time, money, and stress. Hybrid writing craft, blending genres, forms, and creative opportunities. What is hybrid writing craft, and why should authors care about it today? Hybrid writing craft refers to the creative practice of blending different genres, forms, or disciplines in your work. It can also refer to writing across different types of projects like fiction, non-fiction, poetry, or scripts. This matters because, the publishing world is evolving. Readers are looking for unique stories and fresh storytelling techniques. Authors who can adapt and experiment with their writing style naturally stand out. If you're hybrid in how you publish, it makes sense to explore being hybrid in how you write, with the potential and mindset of it opening more doors for your career. Some examples of a hybrid craft is genre mashups. You can mash up different genres, romantic suspense with historical sci-fi, writing novels that include poems, letters, or social media posts, non-fiction with storytelling techniques such as Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. How does hybrid writing open up creative and commercial opportunities? Well, creatively, it keeps your writing fresh and exciting and prevents creative burnout. It allows you to explore different aspects of your interests and expertise. You don't have to pick one thing forever. It allows flexibility. And I think that's something good to think about. If you're feeling stuck or stale in one area of story writing, even if you're known for that area, why don't you try something different or insert another genre into your writing? It's all about play and fun and mixing it up with hybrid styles. Commercially, you can pitch your work to multiple markets, literary journals, podcasts, online platforms, publishers. You create more products, turn blog posts into books, adapt your novel into screenplay, which everybody knows I'm currently trying to do. Release non-fiction guides related to your fiction themes. You might attract different readerships with different projects. For example, your novel audience might discover your essays and vice versa. So I know that we talk about brand and on trend and certain audiences like certain things, but sometimes you never know. They might like something else that you're doing as well. Your non-fiction readers might buy your novels if the themes overlap. So examples of hybrid writing, personal experiences, and famous works. So in my experience, my non-fiction book, Author Fears and How to Overcome Them, complements my fiction career by serving authors while I'm telling women's contemporary stories. So author fears and how to overcome them, although it's nonfiction and I'm writing fiction, the two overlap because author fears arise while writing fiction and while in writing in general. So that's an example there. And The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse, a fiction book, it can be adapted into a script. That's what I'm doing. I'm adapting it into a TV script, and I could turn it into a non-fiction exploration of women's friendship, because that is what the series is all about, is friendship. And different kinds of friendship as well. You've got book 2, which will be making an appearance at some point, and that is going to be new friends. So the protagonist, the 3 women, it's always going to be 3 women in each of them, and I foresee about 4 books in this series. They don't know each other, but they're sort of all brought together and then they build a friendship. Whereas The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse, for those of you who's read it, was based upon long-time friendship. And I like that the characters sort of cross over into each book. That's the kind of stories that I enjoy reading. The reader gets to see a glimpse of what's happening post the first book in the second book with those characters. I'm not sure about the third and the fourth book, but one of them, there'll be other sort of friendship definitions that come into those. Maybe online friends or just sort of different friends, because there is different friendships out there. And so this series is kind of celebrating that. But that's a good thing, an exploration into friendship, tying in with that fiction series. So again, that's hybrid. Some examples of famous works that showcase hybrid writing. The Time Traveler's Wife. Seen that, loved that. I haven't read the book, but that's a love story that incorporates speculative fiction because he's a time traveler, but it's really a romantic story. Daisy Jones and the Six, again, watched the series, not read the book, by Taylor Jenkins Reid, written entirely as interview transcripts, fictional, which is a really, really cool way to tell a story. Milk and Honey by Rupert Kaur, apologies if I'm saying that wrong, Kaur. Poetry mixed with personal memoir. World War Z by Max Brooks, novel presented as journalistic oral history. Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. Again, apologies if that's not the correct way of saying that. Literary fiction, blending poetic language with prose. So you can definitely get a hybrid writing style education. And at the end of this episode, I will share some more works if you are keen to go and read these books and see how it's done. Or even you can watch the movies as well. So where to start? Practical ways authors can experiment with hybrid craft. As always, start small. Write a flash fiction piece that includes an email, text exchange, or poem. You can write a blog post with a creative short story to illustrate your point. Take one scene from your work in progress and rewrite it in another form. And what happens when it's a poem or a script? Ideas to try, alternate point of views. First person for your protagonist, third person for others. Frame narratives, a story within a story, or a podcast interview framing the plot. Creative nonfiction, write about a real experience, but elevate it using storytelling craft. Collaboration opportunities, partner with a poet, a journalist, or a filmmaker. Join writing challenges and encourage hybrid work, e.g. flash fiction contests with form twists. What role does hybrid writing craft play in building a hybrid author career? Strengthens your flexibility. When you can write across forms and genres, you can pivot between different publishing paths. For example, a traditional publisher for your fiction, self-publishing for your nonfiction, digital platforms for your poetry. So everybody knows that in the past I have self-published my nonfiction books, but looked for traditional representation for my children's fiction. And I still feel that way. I've got some YA work that I still will be going to submit to traditional publishing houses once it's ready and finished. But then there's a young adult fiction series that I have had an idea probably about 2 years ago. And it's a massive, massive series, story, all of it. And I think I did start world building and writing down things and then I've just stepped away from it. But that to me is something very hybrid, and it is definitely incorporates some of this hybrid writing craft. It mixes lots of genres. And I just can't, because of that, I can't really see a publisher interested in it. So therefore, I would probably just go down the self-publishing route. That's the hard thing about some hybrid writing crafts, is because you are mixing things, it is different to what's out there in the markets. Then traditional publishing is probably going to be quite difficult to get a deal when they can't see how they're going to market it or where they can place it, and how they can sell it, which I understand. I'm a writer, but I'm very interested in the publishing aspect. And obviously I've self-published, but publishing is and the way they do things, I find it really inspiring and it's of interest to me. Hybrid writing makes you a better marketer, freelancer, and storyteller overall. If you freelance or ghostwrite, hybrid craft can always take you on a wider variety. Hybrid craft allows you to take on a wider variety of work, supports long-term sustainability. The writing life is rarely one thing forever. Hybrid craft future-proofs your career by diversifying your creative portfolio. Some examples of hybrid writing craft ideas of blending genres. There's romantic suspense by the work Verity by Colleen Hoover. Loved that. This is a romance novel with a chilling thriller subplot. Historical fantasy, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is a love story set in a magical alternate history. Speculative memoir, The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. Memoir infused with philosophy, theory, and poetry. As I mentioned, The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffinger, and that's real-world setting with speculative time travel. Sci-fi noir, and that's contemporary with magical realism. Sci-fi noir, Altered Carbon by Richard K. Morgan, and that's futuristic sci-fi world with classic detective noir. Gothic romance horror, Rebecca by Daphne du Jour. Sorry, I don't know if I said that right. Love story wrapped in psychological suspense. That was a great one. If you're interested in blending forms, multiple formats in one work, some examples to read would be prose and interviews. We said this, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is write a novel as an oral history or documentary. Prose and text messages and emails. Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, romantic story told through email correspondence. Prose and scripts, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by T.J. Reid, chapters switch between narrative and interview script. Prose and poetry, The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I don't know if I said that right. Write your novel in verse or prose interspersed with poems. Prose and footnotes, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Experimental fiction using footnotes and marginella. Fiction and diary entries, Bridget Jones's Diary by Helen Fielding. Your MC's Journal tells the inner story. Now, we all know how that format exploded, especially across children's writing, and it's kind of passé at the moment because it's been done to death, but no doubt it might rear its head through something else. So genre and real-life integrations, creative nonfiction and history, In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Write true crimes as if it were a suspense novel. Essay and personal narrative, Trick Mirror by Gio Tolentino. Use essays to impact life themes explored in your fiction. Journalism and fiction, World War Z, we've mentioned that, by Max Brooks. Present your fictional story as a series of real reports. Fiction and non-fiction appendices, The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. Add real research or fictional academic articles to your book world. Point of view, narrative experiments, technique, second-person point of view. So this is like mucking around with different points of view. Bright Lights, Big City by Jay McKierney. Try a scene or a chapter in second person to increase intimacy. Multiple points of view with formal shift. Let the Great World Spin by Colin McCann. Alternate characters' perspectives by Unique Voices and Forms. Non-linear narrative, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Play with time, flashbacks, or circular structures. So visual and literary crossovers. Hybrid illustrated novels. The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. Combine illustrations with prose for younger or visual readers. Graphic memoir, Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. Adapt personal stories into visual storytelling. Photo essays in prose, Humans of New York by Brandon Stanton. Blend photography and creative micro stories. And cross-media storytelling. Podcast and fiction, Welcome to Night Vale, which is a podcast book. Write a novel expanding on a podcast world. Screenplay adaptations, Normal People by Sally Rooney. Book to TV series, write the adaptation potential from the beginning. Now, I've read Normal People by Sally Rooney and I've watched the TV series and I absolutely loved both. Honestly, I do love book to film and book to TV adaptation series. I haven't ever seen it done badly, and that's a really, really good one. So, and it captured, even the TV series, it still captured the voice of the book. It was amazing. Loved it. Blog to book, Stuff White People Like by Christian Lander. Turn a humorous or advice blog into a structured nonfiction book. That's quite popular. I know a lot of people that do that. And interactive narrative, choose your own adventure books. Experiment with interactive branching storytelling. That's all those examples I actually typed into ChatGPT and I got them from there. I just said, can you provide me with some hybrid writing craft example ideas, and that gave me a selection of all those book adaptations to share with you. So definitely think about, these are some of the things to think about in your own work and how you can make your work hybrid and play. See where it takes you and what you can create for fun and love, if nothing else. It's good to experiment with different things in all walks of life, not just authorship and career. You know, people do it with cooking, they do it with clothing. We do it in all aspects of life. And that's how we can determine even agriculture. And I think we had Shane Simonson on the podcast and is a farmer over east. And how can we make something new if we don't experiment? And this is the hybrid style completely. Challenge you to look at how you write and what you write. And if it's just in one genre, how about trying adding some different things in there and see what happens? If not to share with anyone else, but just to give it a go yourself. So there you have it, folks. Lots of hybrid writing, craft, blending genre forms, and creative opportunity examples to consider. Next time on the Hybrid Author Podcast, we have Catherine DeFries chatting science fiction, Kickstarter, and Son of Osivirus. Catherine DeFries is an award-winning fantasy and sci-fi author who explores themes of restorative justice, empowerment, connection with earth and spirit, and finding the true self in her work. All wrapped up in an epic package of immersive world building and sweet romance. Very hybrid. A former Air Force engineer and recovering perfectionist, she now homeschools her children, two of whom are on the autism spectrum. She and her family live in the Gold Coast hinterland of Australia, where she enjoys living in a rainforest and pretending she's an elf. Sounds fabulous, Catherine. Can't wait to share that interview with you. I wish you well in your author adventure. That's it from me. Bye for now.
That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.